Welcome to Raise Nation Radio, the podcast for nonprofit movers, shakers, and change makers. We are here to fuel your passion with a daily dose of fundraising inspiration while keeping the conversations and connections from the annual Raise Conference alive all year long. Tune in for fresh perspectives, bold strategies, and the hottest trends lighting up the nonprofit world. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, buckle up. Each episode is packed with lively discussions, expert insights, and creative solutions to help you make an even bigger impact. Now get ready for another exciting episode. Please welcome your host from One Cause, Dawn Lego.
Hey there, welcome back, Raise Nation. It's so great that you're joining us again. My name is Dawn Lego, part of the marketing team here at One Cause. If you didn't know that already, we've been doing this podcast for about 4 years now, so you're probably tired of hearing me with that introduction. But if you're new to the channel, well, I'm glad to get to know you. And as I mentioned, there's about 200 episodes on Raise Nation Radio that you can catch up on. But this one's going to be great. We're going to really dive into a topic that I'm pretty sure plagues the nonprofit sector. And I'm glad to get into it. So whether you're discovering us for the first time or if you've been part of our story for a while, so glad to welcome you back. We celebrate purpose, passion, and possibility here at Raise Nation Radio. So please get comfy and let's dive into this week's episode with this week's guest. I'm so pleased and excited to welcome to the show Jen Newmeyer. She's the Senior Director. Listen to the title because you'll know you're going to want to listen to her. Digital fundraising strategy. And that's what I mean in our introduction. I think that plagues us in this sector, the digital fundraising strategy. So she's with a company, PBS. She wears many other hats and many other titles, but I just want to welcome her to the show. Hi, Jen. How are you? Welcome to Raise Nation.
I am great, Dawn. Thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
Oh gosh, we're so glad to. I really want to dig into this. But before we do, our audience needs to get to know you as well as we do. We've reviewed some of your content and we just love the topics that you're able to speak to. But go ahead, say hello to Raise Nation and tell us all the things about Jen Newmeyer.
Well, hi, everybody. Yes, I am Jen Newmeyer. As Dawn had said, Senior Director of Digital Fundraising Strategy at PBS. I am also the owner and founder of Charity Jen Consulting, which is some freelancing that I've just been doing on the side for quite some time. I send emails, I write blogs, I write articles because I'm just so passionate about this topic of digital fundraising. And in fact, I've written 2 books on it.
Oh.
Yes, my most recent book, Digital Fundraising Transformation, The Insider's Guide to Revolutionize Your Strategy and Raise More, was just, I know it's a mouthful. It seems like everything is a mouthful.
That's okay.
It was just released a few months ago. So I'm very proud of it. And a lot of everything that I talk about, it's all poured into the book. And so I'm happy to be here and talk about some of those things.
Yeah, so we're going to get both of those books and the links dropped into the show notes, right? And where can we get them? Wherever fine books are sold, Amazon, I assume. Where else are they available?
Yeah, Digital Fundraising Transformation is available on Amazon as well as my first book. But you can also get a copy of the book from my publisher, Civil Sector Press, and they're out of Toronto in Canada.
Oh, wow.
So if you'd like to support our businesses up north, that is one way that you can do it.
Well, of course, you have to get me all that information so we can drop them into the show notes and make it easier for Raise Nation.
Yes.
We're kind of working backwards here. We usually plug books and things at the end, but I'm excited to do that in the beginning. That's real fun. I'm really happy to talk to you because I just think that the digital fundraising strategy, which is part of your title, is so wide. It's such a wide net and very evasive for the nonprofit sector. Maybe they're even paralyzed, I would say. What to do, how to do it, what to prioritize. It's a crazy, like, what does it even mean, right? So maybe we should start there. What does digital fundraising mean? And how does a nonprofit structure their strategy so that it makes sense and they know what they're doing and they're not so ad hoc and shooting from the hip? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does. And you're absolutely right. And there's so many different angles that you can go with trying to get started.
Just
So,
part of the
um,
problem.
I know.
Yeah.
One of the things that I talk about and write about is sort of this lack of understanding of how digital fundraising fits into the development structure or the marketing and communications collaboration. All of these things that are really needed for successful digital fundraising. So, like, just because you send some emails doesn't really mean that you're doing,
That's not strategy.
effective digital fundraising.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's great. It's a part of it. But I talk about often, some of the traditional giving models, like the giving pyramid, the constituency circle, the growth funnel, and
Oh
how
my.
all of these fit together. And essentially, the biggest part of it is that you have marketing and communications or a lot of other entities within your organization probably who are doing a lot of cultivation of audiences. So marketing, is probably doing a lot of ads. Your communication team might be doing social media. You might have an events team that's like reaching out to the community and doing all of these great things. And what's lacking is sort of the first thing that's lacking is sort of the element of conversion. So how are we taking these audiences and really cultivating them into a funnel that really focuses on conversion? And that doesn't necessarily mean a donation. That can be an e-newsletter sign up. And we all know how valuable an email list is. It can be, someone, signing up to volunteer, something
Volunteer.
like that.
Yep.
But whatever that conversion element is, because you're sort of, thinking about the user journey, thinking about from the very beginning, from when you're starting, these relationships, what are all of the steps that are involved to, cultivate these audiences to donors, and then, maybe monthly donors or repeat donors or major donors, and then on to like really having a very strong stewardship plan because you want to hold on to them. So within that sort of very broad definition of digital fundraising, then you have all of the little tactics, right? So you have social media and paid ads, maybe for acquisition. Then, you might have various teams focused on different types of emails to these audiences, an e-newsletter, a fundraising email, an events newsletter. There might even be like a major gifts newsletter. Then there is the cultivation of the donors and moving into that stewardship strategy. And those types of things can be as simple as, just mapping out how often you are touching your audiences. They talk about, the touch points that are so crucial for stewardship. So that can be, sending out an annual report. That can be holding a donor exclusive donor event. It doesn't have to be in person. You could have, a behind the scenes virtual, video, or your CEO can hop on, a live stream and have it, an invitation for a town hall or Q&A or some sort of, very structured, way to cultivate these audiences. And that's where all of like the tactics come in. So it's just a matter of understanding from high level how everything fits together, really focusing on conversion and that donor journey, looking at all of those tactics, expanding on those tactics, and then, just really drilling down into that sort of long-term donor strategy,
Yeah.
sort of the high level.
You know what's, I think, part of the problem, and it's a good, bad problem to have. I think when you think about a direct mail campaign, right? You have a budget, the work that's going to be involved. You can pretty easily figure out with that tactic, okay, I need to do for a year, whatever it is, whatever you decide. And it just feels like it has a solid box around it that you could dig into. But when we come to digital, and I was listening to you very intently, and some nonprofits don't have the team that you were talking about, a marketing team, this team, that team. They're one man shops.
Yeah.
When you think about it, there's no box because it's almost endless, infinite, right? Oh, social media. How many times do I do that? A social media plan, an email campaign, going live. Do I? Don't I? What channels? All these different channels. Do I TikTok? Don't I TikTok? Do I tweet? Do we even call it tweet anymore? I don't even know. Is it called Xing now? I don't even know what it's called. But it's like, I think it's so hard to put that box around it. So what's your advice to the fundraising and nonprofit leaders that are listening that could help them corral that in and make them see through all of the tactics to a plan, right? How do they break through that C?
Yeah.
I know that's a hard question.
Well, I think that, what like just stepping back from the how is actually looking about why we don't have that box. And I think it is just because digital audiences and cultivating digital audiences and even integrating digital tools into some of those traditional methods for more of an integrated fundraising type of strategy, just like you were talking about with direct mail, adding emails, at very specific times in your ads, if you can do ads. So I think that because there's so many ways to go about it, there's so many different types of audiences, different sizes of organizations. There's not like really one prescribed. I mean, there's some best practices, but you're right. There's not like a indirect mail, which, and I mean, to be fair, I mean, we've been working on direct mail for decades, so, digital fundraising still is, relatively new for a lot, right? Exactly. So I think at some point we'll get to maybe, defining that box. But often when I talk about with nonprofits, and I feature this on my blog and in my book, is a leveled approach. So I talk about sort of, if you are just starting, you want to focus on a couple of very specific things. That is making sure that you have a strong website presence, making sure that you have a very optimized donation form, making sure that you have an email strategy, and then starting to add in, your social media elements. So really within the beginner's sort of structure is really honing in on those four things to ensure that you have a really good, strong foundation in those areas. Mapping out how often you're sending your emails, what kinds of content you have in there, that you're balancing your newsletters with your, with your fundraising asks. And then sort of, cultivating audiences on social media. So those are some of the, like, if I were to say, if you're just starting out, just focus on that. And I actually do know a lot of some of those small organizations that, are still sending emails from their Outlook. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, get a MailChimp, get a constant contact, something like that. Start using an an e-marketing platform for email. So you were before I move on to the intermediate, I think you might have had a question.
I just want to make sure I review those 4 pillars. So I think you're saying a strong website presence.
Yes.
Look at the donation form within your website. That's the second one. You need some sort of email campaign. So map that out by month, by quarter, right? And make sure that it looks professional. And then the last one is you need to be social. You have to be on some social, maybe not all, maybe the ones that work for you. Because I think they're different audiences. They're definitely generational. At least it feels to me, Facebook versus, TikTok. So though that's where you start, right? And put them up on a wall and write your plan under each and every one of them. And that's a way that you could put that box around that structure.
Right.
Is that the advice that we want?
Okay.
Yes,
I would say for just starting out, making sure that all 4 of those are in place and strong. And I do just want to tag on, because you alluded to it a little bit, but on the social media, that doesn't mean you have to be on all platforms. You could just be on one.
And do it well, right?
And do it
do it well.
well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
the content and the creative, it could be exhausting
It
sometimes.
really is. Even
Yeah,
just those four things can be very hard for a
right.
small nonprofit to keep up with, and to, really have a strong foundation. But just keeping the focus on those four things, because you're right. You can go to conferences, you see all of the fancy bells and whistles. Just make sure you have those four in
Right.
place.
And then we'll talk
Yeah.
next year and you'll tell us the next four. Um, all right. I want to talk about the donation form
Mhm.
because I think one area that you're just an expert on is, what's going on when that donor's clicking, right?
Mhm.
Are you losing them? Do you know if you're losing them? Do you know what that experience is like? Have you tried that experience yourself or asked people to test that experience for you? Or do you have a website and you kind of button there and you're kind of like, what? I think that's a really great place because I think we know what we need to do with social media. We've heard it. Not all channels do one well, right? And then you can get into a rhythm and a groove. I want to talk about that because I think that's just such an area that you bring so much wealth of knowledge, making that click, turn that person into a champion and not losing them into some kind of cyber world. Can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that? What makes it
One,
all good?
yes, 100%. So what I've been doing with in workshops with a lot of stations is really working on what we call the optimization of that journey to
Yes,
the
yes.
donation form and afterwards. So I actually just did this for a keynote where I had the audience take out their phones, go to their website.
I almost took out my phone. I'm like, okay, what? How do I have to do? All right.
So go to the website and look for a couple of things. Where's the donate button? Can you find it right away? Are you making it difficult for people
Especially
to
on
find the
mobile,
donate?
right?
Especially on mobile.
Okay.
A lot of people don't think about testing their donation form process on mobile.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Both ways, right?
Yeah, because it's easy. And I did this too. I worked at a food bank for 10 years and I worked primarily on desktop, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I got to check that on
Yeah.
mobile. Then I'd look at mobile and I go, oh man, it looks
Oh,
terrible. What do I do
no.
now?
Yes,
I have to
yes.
invest more time,
We're
but
both
it's so,
groaning.
so important. I know. So, looking at that donate button, and then there are little things that you can do to improve that, making sure the color stands out. There's actually one, experiment that shows that on the homepage of the donation form, if you have a give monthly button beside the donate button, that actually
Oh.
really improves conversion because
Oh, I love that. That's an
yes,
easy tip everybody can do right now today.
yes, because you are removing one of the decisions that the donor has to make when they get to the donation form before they even get to it.
Love
It's
that.
like they're making that decision there, whether they want to give monthly or whether they want to donate. Just make sure that when they click donate, it doesn't say give monthly, give monthly.
Right, right, right.
Like they're donating.
Take them
So
to the right path. Yes.
highlight one time. I mean, you can have the give monthly option on there, of course. You want to, but yeah, those two buttons. So then and I think this is something else nonprofits don't think about. When you click on the donate button, do you go right to the donation form, or is there another step?
Why would there be
Sometimes
another step?
well, sometimes, for example, with public media stations, for example, who have TV and radio, they want donors to select whether they want to support TV or radio and send them to two different donation forms.
Okay.
Sometimes at universities, if there are any, like if you've ever gone to a university pay donation process, you should just try it. Just choose one. Most of the
Well, my
time.
daughter just graduated Boston College, so I've been getting all of these. Will you donate? So I'm
Yeah.
going to have to take a look at it.
When you go to the university website and click donate, it will often ask you,
Uh,
what school do you want to support? What
oh,
fund within that
yes.
school do you want to
Yes.
support? I encountered a couple of them actually that ask you to log into your account before you donate.
Oh. And who remembers their account information, right?
Right, exactly. So the cleanest, most, swift process, because again, like the intent here is to get that donor to make a donation, right? So what's the smoothest way that they can get there? Now, most of the time, most organizations have it go right to the donation form. So that's great. So then we're on the donation form. And when
wait, can I stop you there?
Yes.
What if you have that situation? How do you work around it? So if you are, because right, my daughter graduated somebody Morrissey of something school. I'm so sorry, I forgot this poor gentleman's name. But how do you work around it if you have a situation where they need to make a choice? Are we bringing that to the end, or where does that come in?
Well, I think that for universities, that's probably a very involved conversation because you have a lot of stakeholders. Okay. So it's sort of like, okay, how important is it for our school to be selected first before they get to the donation form versus, is there some, and sometimes there's not. Sometimes, because of the structure of our organization, we have to have that page there. But I would encourage organizations who have those multiple steps, is to really evaluate, like, just how can we
Succinctly.
streamline it a little bit. Is there some way we could just make it easier? Is it really important that we know all of this up front? And sometimes, like I said before, it is, because those schools have to have would it be that, there could be, some multiple steps just on one page. For some of so I worked at a station that had that question of TV or radio. Okay. And after some discussions of why we needed to have that, some people had insisted it was because of some grant reporting that we had to have them separated. Others, said that it was part of direct mail, that when you qualified them either as a TV or radio donor, they were on a there was like different direct mail copy and language that went to them. Mm-hmm. But then after some digging, actually, that was not the case for either of those items. No. And that information wasn't even being fed into the CRM. So, but I mean, I had to do a lot of research and asking questions of all of the stakeholders. Why was it important? How does it impact? How is it a part of the donor, journey, the funding, overall, like all of these questions, had to be answered before I could come back to the group and say, here is what I found. This is actually,
oh my gosh, what was the outcome?
So we ended up removing it.
Wow.
We ended up removing it, and we had.
Was there a difference in the?
There was a 93% increase in donation conversion. Right
there. I mean, you've just given us gold in like 10 minutes. I love the donate monthly versus the donate. Never thought of that. That's outstanding. Right there. Worth listening to this podcast. But 93%, and that's what scares me, that nonprofit leaders may not know what they're losing or missing out on because of click optimization, right? Mm-hmm. Wow, what a story. Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. I interrupted you. Where were you going? So I think we were at the point where, really dig deep and ask hard questions before you have a question in the process. And then I cut you off. So let's pick it up from there.
So then moving on to the actual donation form and evaluating. Okay. So now we should be at the donation form once we remove some of those barriers, or at least streamlined it. I mean, there are tests that show that even going from a 4-page form to a 3-page form in improved conversion. Wow. So maybe you still have multiple forms. That's totally fine. But evaluating, how can we just make this a little easier? And if you think about like the number of steps that it takes to get to the page, you have a better chance of losing your donor in the process. I mean, just think of our busy lives, like the phone rings, the kids are screaming, someone, shows up at the door, or you're at lunch and they're interrupting you. Like there's just such an opportunity for that, for interruption there. So just always thinking, how can we just make this as fast as possible?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And meaningful, though. It needs to be meaningful along the way, though, right? You're
Sure.
not suggesting, donate money, credit, like you're not suggesting that either.
No, no,
Or at
no.
least I'm assuming you're not, because
Mhm.
there needs to be, it can't be transactional. There needs to be meaning and impact and some type of personalization, like this donation, your donation is going to. So can we talk a little bit about optimization that goes too far, that becomes transactional
Yeah.
versus making it the giving experience in the process?
Right, absolutely. So, one of the things that I have people look at when they get to their donation form is there a really strong value proposition on the page? So there have been experiments. And a lot of these experiments are done. I pulled them from the Next After Online Fundraising Institute. So I do have to give props to
Yes, we'll
them.
give props to Next After all day, every day, for
Yes,
sure.
yes, yes. And we worked with Next After on a really big optimization project with all of our stations and benchmarking 75, organizations. So a lot of this, the research comes from this. But the more that I talk about it, the more that people are like, oh, like
Light
I
bulb
didn't
moment.
realize that
Yeah.
exactly. Value proposition, so important, because you have to remember, the internet can be weird. People can land on your donation form without even getting to your, really understanding your website. Like on the donation form, you do want to have very compelling value proposition because these donors might not have read all the information on the website. They might not have read a direct mail piece before they got to the form. Like this is just an opportunity to reinforce how important that gift is and the impact that it's going to have. So there was an experiment that actually had, a donation form had one sentence on it, like "Thank you for your gift today," to actually 3 paragraphs of information about how important it was, how it was going to make a difference, how grateful the organization was for the support. And I don't remember the stats, but again, 70, 80, 90%, increase in conversion. I think that it's
And
on
that
the
was on
next
the
after.
thank you area? That was in thank
No, that's on the donation form
Oh,
itself.
okay.
So some people think that, that we need a really, short donation form. That sometimes that's not necessarily true. Every organization needs to test it. In public media donors who are generally older like a lot of information. So we've had some stations who have tested this extensively and gone from short, like maybe just a few sentences to a longer value proposition, to talking about benefits and not talking about benefits. And interestingly enough, the more information that is on the page without making it really unwieldy actually performs better.
The
So
more information that's on the page. Oh, wow.
yes. So again, every organization does need to test it, but that's a really great element to test with your audiences. However, I will go back to the point that you do want to have some language there. You shouldn't just have a logo that says, "Thank you for your gift."
Right.
Make sure that the donor feels that it is, that they're making a good investment into your organization by making a
Sure.
gift. Mhm.
Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
there's so much to talk about. I feel like we can have, a 4-hour podcast
We
with each
could.
other because we only dove into one of your pillars, and
Mhm.
there's just so much more. How does,
Yes.
our audience is listening to this, they maybe they need some help, right? And we've just kind of talked about how you can help them. What does it look like to get started with PBS and to work with you? Can you consult, like, how does all of that happen? And are you available to help anyone who's interested?
Oh, sure. Well, I do a lot of work outside of PBS, as I had mentioned before. I'm on the board of the Association of Fundraising Professionals here in DC. I do a lot of webinars and like this podcast, and I do writing. So if you go to charitygen.com, you can sign up for my newsletter, but I also have a blog there where I've talked about a lot of these things. You could search, the articles that are there. And and then stay tuned for my appearances. I mean, like I said before, like I love to, come to different organizations, and I'm really passionate about helping organizations make a difference. So they can contact
How
me
do you
through my
split your
website.
time
Oh my
between what you
gosh.
do at PBS, right? That's not a small role or a small entity by any means. That sounds like a job and a half. Plus, all of the work that you're doing. How how do you manage all of that?
Nights, weekends.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I guess it speaks to your passion, right? It just,
Yes,
yeah.
right, exactly. Yeah. I used to, when I was in North Carolina, like it just was so evident that these kinds of topics were, and really for nonprofit professionals just to come together and have, peer sharing, sort of, what the AFP stands for essentially. And I, started like a little networking group, charity
Oh my
chats. I'm
gosh.
gonna get that up off the ground again, but I had to finish the book, and now I'm working on,
That's
that kind of stuff.
no, I,
It,
I,
yeah,
it's no small feat to be writing a book. I mean,
I know.
it's just, I feel like it's endless. Our CEO, Steve Johns, published a book a couple of years ago, and, I was in and out of that process with him, and I was like, oh my, is
Mhm.
this book ever going to be published? It's not easy. There's a lot that goes into publishing a book. So you did it once, but twice. Good for you. So is your let's announce again the company that you founded. What is that again? Charity Gen?
Oh, Charity Jen. Yes.
Yes,
And that just comes from my, when I started in social media years and years ago, that was my
that was your
handle.
handle. Oh,
And
cute. Yes,
so,
I
yeah.
remember
So,
handles.
yep, you can find Charity
Charity
Jen
Gen.
on, yep,
Okay.
yep, yep.
So do you have clients there, or is that more thought leadership and content and resources and being helpful, or both? I think that's what I meant before when I said how to work with you, when I said PBS, and I meant to say Charity Gen.
Yes, absolutely. So there are a lot of resources that I have on the website, but I also have information about my consulting, freelancing,
Got
and
it.
I also have information about speaking. So if anyone out there is interested in a speaker, I have all the topics
Okay,
on
so you just wear
my
all the hats.
page. Yeah.
Speaker, consulting, resources, author. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
Good for
So,
you.
yeah. Well, I'm really passionate. I mean, I've seen the struggles that nonprofit professionals have,
Especially in the
and
digital space.
I mean, it just breaks my heart, and and sometimes it's not really that difficult. And I think that is really what drives me, like you can make small changes and have really big
Big
impact.
results.
And yeah, absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
good. I mean, you just organized thought just in this short little discussion, right? Those four pillars. Let's just start there.
Yeah.
Well, I have, gosh, so many questions. We're going to have to continue this on a webinar, another podcast. I do want to close with where are we going? What does the future of the digital fundraising space look like? And what is your message to nonprofits that, are just here, there, and everywhere? What is this going to look like, 5 years, 2 years, 10 years down the road that we need to be thinking about?
Well, our audiences are really moving faster and faster into the digital space. And I think that was the emphasis of when I started my second book, like after COVID, like everything just like wildfire, like audiences immediately converted to digital communication, digital, I remember pre-COVID, if someone said to me like, "Oh, let's get on a Zoom," I'm like, "Zoom? Why are we meeting by virtual? Like, this is so weird. Like, just call me."
Yes,
Now,
yes.
now nobody calls each other, you know? So I think it's just going to continue to move into that space. And so I tell people, like, if you haven't started thinking about digital fundraising, I mean, you should have been 10 years ago, but the second best time to do it is now.
Now,
Like really, like this is an area, and it's not easy, because digital is unwieldy. It's very hard to cultivate audiences online. I realize that it's so much easier to buy a list, and send a direct mail piece.
yeah,
Like we
but
have that down, so I understand that results are not immediate, and a lot of times that's why it's dismissed so easily easily is because you can't convince your CEO that this is really important. So again, I put a lot of research into the book that really talks about digital maturity and the importance of that, and organizations who focused on that, 2, 3, 5 times more successful than those who don't. And I just think like in 5 years, those who are not focusing on this area of fundraising are going to be left behind.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
No, and that's interesting. I wasn't sure what you were going to say, but yeah, moving fast. The audience that we're trying to acquire, engage is moving fast,
Yeah.
and we kind of have to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's definitely the message here, which is scary. But fortunately, we have resources like you, this podcast, and Charity Gen that we're going to get all of that in the show notes. I want to Charity Gen, the book. I want to get that all at the, I want no barriers between Raise Nation and Jen Newmeyer. So
100%.
We'll make sure. Yeah.
Great.
And maybe, we'll have to talk about a webinar so we can go into more educational content. I think our audience would really appreciate that. Well, you've been such a breath of fresh air. And I loved our conversations. This was gold. I'm still can't get over the donate monthly versus donate. I don't think I've ever seen that yet.
Yeah.
So
credit to Next After, I have to say.
Wow. I love them. How long have you been at PBS?
I have been at PBS for about 3.5 years.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was with WHYY in Philadelphia.
Oh,
and
my neck of the woods.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great station. Before that, I was with PBS North Carolina, out of Durham, in Research Triangle Park. I was there for about 6 years. And then, like I said before that, I was with a food bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina for 10 years.
Wow. So you're the intersection of, the basic core principles, I'm sure, are there, they carry over from one to the other, I'm sure. And wow, it's exciting just to have all of your insights and expertise just in one person, one Charity Gen.
Aw, thanks, Dawn.
Well, this was such a great conversation. Well, that's a wrap for today's show. I wish it wasn't. A big thank you to Jen Newmeyer, or Charity Gen, for being a guest. We're going to get all of that information in the show notes. So no barriers, I promise you. It'll be all there for easy clicking. Thank you so much for tuning in. As you know, you guys are the heartbeat of this community. I'm so grateful for our audience. Your voices, your experiences make Raise Nation inspiring. So don't be a stranger. As I mentioned, 200 episodes for you to catch up on our channel. But join us on the show too. Share your story, and let's continue building this wonderful community together. Jen Newmeyer, thank you so much for your time, your expertise. I know we're going to hear more from you, but I really appreciate our conversation today.
Of course. Thank you.
And until next time, you all stay fearless and keep raising the nation. Fearless Fundraisers, that's a wrap for today. A heartfelt thank you to our guests for sharing their stories, insights, and expertise. And to you, our fantastic audience, for everything you do to build brighter tomorrows in our communities. We hope today's content inspires you to amplify your mission and grow your impact. Don't forget to join us for new episodes every Thursday, wherever you listen to your podcasts, or catch us on YouTube and on demand at onecause.com. And before we go, we'd love your help in growing this podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, follow, and subscribe to Raise Nation Radio. Share it with a friend, and please leave us a review so we can continue delivering content that inspires and empowers. Raise Nation Radio is produced in partnership with One Cause, your go-to for digital fundraising solutions that connect nonprofits with their donors and drive results. Visit onecause.com or scan the QR code to schedule a one-to-one with their fundraising experts and explore the latest tools and innovations to help you reach more and raise more. Plus, be sure to check out their extensive catalog of free resources to support your mission. All the links are in the show notes. Raise Nation Radio is inspired by the annual Raise Conference, presented by One Cause. We'd love to see you in person at the next Raise event in September. It's a 2-day experience featuring over 35 CFRE accredited sessions, dynamic speakers, and the latest innovations from our sponsor pavilion, and priceless networking opportunities. And while you're there, don't miss the Fearless Fundraiser Party. It's where memories are made and lifelong friendships are formed. Secure your spot today at onecause.com/raise. The link is also in the show notes. Until next time, thank you for tuning in. And as always, stay fearless.